lot of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, just an outstanding weekend for me and my family.
You are now a father-in-law?
Correct.
I feel bad for her. Now, rumor has it.
What's that?
I was talking to Dave Rush about this.
Yeah.
That you're a little bit of a different person around the family, not in your element in BTL or in the industry. Now, I didn't even know I was going to talk about this, but when Dave comes in and stays, which he has in the past, he said you'll go out to dinner perhaps.
Yeah.
He said Carolyn runs the show and you are perhaps kind and and quiet.
That's why we've been married for 30 years, dude.
He said that you are a loving, caring, quiet family man.
Yeah.
Who's actually quite generous when it comes to the bill at the dinner table.
I actually paid for the groomsmen's lunch. Like we went to lunch at Pub W the day of the wedding. And when the waitress came, she was like, all right, is this going to be separate? And I just played it off. I didn't say a word. And everybody's kind of looking at each other. I still didn't say a word.
You'd already paid for it.
No. And then somebody said, well, I guess separate. And I just sat there and smiled. And then I got up. I go, I'll be right back. I got to go to the bathroom. Grabbed the waitress, gave her my card. I said, here, cover it.
Very nice.
So I got it. Anyway, great
Speech
wedding.
went well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was the fastest Catholic wedding I think I've ever seen in my life.
Now, my one buddy that one of the two weddings I did go to, it was a Catholic wedding, and I was in the wedding party.
Yeah.
And it was really long.
No, 20 minutes.
Oh, very nice.
And it was really weird because it was a massive church, but they had rope and tape.
Right. Did anyone show up who wasn't supposed to show up?
No, everybody. It was all good.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Everybody had to wear masks except for the wedding party.
Yeah, I'm glad that's over with.
Yeah. The funny thing is right before the ceremony started, Mark realized he didn't have the ring. That was the worst thing that happened all weekend. Not the wedding ring, but his ring.
Heaven forbid we have a ring controversy, Mark.
So one of the groomsmen went back to where it was, picked it up, got it. So great stuff. You didn't even comment on the picture that I sent you and Dave.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Mark looks happy. His girlfriend of 17 years looks happy.
10 and a half years. Anyway, good stuff. Appreciate... Dude, I saw some people I hadn't seen for a long time. A lot of kids that I coached 10 years ago, 8, 9, 10 years ago, and it was really, really, really cool to see a lot of people I hadn't seen for a long time.
Now
all right.
Just got AJ to go.
AJ was the best man.
I feel like AJ's going to play the field for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before he gets married.
His makeup's just a tad differently than Mark's.
Yeah.
Like Mark never was crawling out the window in high school, was he?
No.
I feel like that's
totally
far enough. I remember that one time.
Yeah, by the way, his best man speech, epic.
Funny?
It was so good. In fact, the DJ and the people that were putting on the reception said it was the best man speech they've ever heard.
You don't think they say that with every wedding?
No, he said that. He goes, look, you're going to think I'm just throwing some, bull up your whatever. He goes, seriously, it was
throwing some bull up your whatever?
Yeah.
Is that a new
I didn't want to cuss. I don't like cussing on the show. So,
okay.
It was really, really, it had the entire wedding party, wedding guests rolling out of their chairs. It was so fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations. While you were doing that, the Elite Series anglers were getting COVID tests from the Waterton Municipal Health Center. And I'm telling you, there's trends. Like everybody will post, like for a while, it was the like look around, hold the fish up. Then it was like, everyone has like the trend now is posting that you are negative for COVID and you can fish the tournament.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, how did we get to this point? But they're in New York. This is the second day of practice for the Elite Series stop. They moved it to Clayton, which is further down. Cannot fish in Canada, but they opened up Ontario.
Which is huge.
I think it's a whole different ballgame depending on what the weather and the wind is supposed to do. You remember what Polinick did in Lake Ontario on those rock piles. A lot of the anglers who we consider smallmouth anglers, I mean, that's some really strong current in that river, Mark. You're talking half ounce, 3/4 ounce drop shot weights, deep, swift current. And if you're not used to that and you're a smallmouth guy, I mean, there's some guys like Mueller and stuff who've struggled there in the past, but the lake's a whole different ballgame.
You're right. You're right. You're 100% right. More news coming out of the bass camp, too. Did you see the press release about that they are going to invite back the entire field?
Yeah, I actually did. And the quote from Bruce Aiken in the press release by Brian Brasher that was released on the 17th was, with everything unfolding the way it has and some things still up in the air from day to day, we just felt like our anglers deserved the right to fish the rest of the season without those added pressures, said Bass CEO Bruce Aiken. With this measure, they can focus on the things that are most important, namely staying healthy and making the most of their time on the water, and they can do it without worrying about which tour they'll be fishing next season.
Yeah. If you don't make that Mendrosian line, the cut line or whatever, okay, great, you got to pass. But now the difficult task is trying to come up with the money for next year.
The most important or interesting thing, I guess, about this press release is the fact that Michelle is getting paid $120 to $130 per hour working from home and easily could have earned $15,000 this month. And she doesn't even have any online working skills.
It appeared again.
All she had to do was copy and paste the site below and the money started rolling in. So
there you have it.
I mean, maybe if Bruce had read the comments, they could have cut some guys because, bam, there's a revenue stream. You're not worried about cash with $15K a month rolling in.
Oh, well, wow. Yeah. Was that the only comment on there?
You could have splurged on the...
Can you not filter those out or something? Was that the only comment?
Yeah, it's the only one right now. Everyone's on there copying and pasting.
Wow. Well, I think it's a really, really good move by Bass to do that. But at the same time, I think it's very challenging for a lot of guys out there that are not performing to be able to get the revenue necessary to be able to compete at this level of professional fishing. So we shall see, man. A lot of buddy deals.
As far as I know,
you agree with that?
Yeah.
But as far as
I know, I don't know of anybody who did not pass the COVID test. There's not been any of those rumors swirling around yet.
No.
And I think, as far as I know, all but maybe one or two of the guys have taken it. So.
That's good news.
Or they probably all have taken it by now.
Yeah. The better news is going to be they get to the next stop. And nobody has it. Yeah, that's the biggest step.
I was talking to some Bass staff. Everyone who's a part of it has to take it. They're treating, all the staff, anybody on site, everything like part of the team.
Yeah.
So, get through this, and man, if we can get 2 out of the 3 in New York, I think that's a win for Bass.
100%, man. 100%.
And plus the ESPN too.
A ton of coverage. I just hope with some of the areas that they might travel to on the SLR that hopefully cell service will be available. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. Hopefully they got the connectivity to where those guys can be showcased. All right, great show today. We're going to have Justin Lucas on, the man that got it done on Sturgeon Bay and in dominating fashion in all aspects. And it was, did you watch any of it? Did you watch the celebration? Did you watch the emotion?
Well, here's the thing. So it was, I was fishing the Wednesday nighter. Which
How'd
I had
you do?
to fish. We finished third. 2 fish.
With Miller.
It was tough. Almost. We had 2. Miller caught like a 5 right off the bat. And I was like, well, this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
And then we had 1 bite the rest of the night.
All right.
I did take half of the money and I only caught a 12-inch spotted bass. So
well, there you have it.
Shamelessly.
It's a team effort, man.
But I was like, hey, let's go hit that pile over there.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. So I consider that to be
Yeah,
part of the team
it's
effort.
a team
anyway,
effort, man.
With the rain delay, that they had on the final day there. I was watching the final 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And then the Wednesday nighter started, and I still was checking. And then Miller caught the 5, and I was like, okay, screw this, we're fishing. But so I turned it off when Lucas was on the verge of not being a happy camper.
Yeah.
And the guys were catching up, and he'd gone 45 minutes and not gotten bit, and it looked like he was on a rodeo out there. And then he sealed the deal, but he deserved to win that tournament.
Yeah.
Deserved to win it. Set the records for everything, and the MLF with the total weight and stuff, and came through in the final round, which, I mean, 2 or 3 times this year, the guys who have gotten the pass, I was very vocal about how I thought it would be a negative detriment to win the round, make it to the finals, and then not have that day in between to go out.
Yeah.
But like 2 or 3 of the times, the guys who won the round ended up winning the whole thing. So it obviously hasn't been as detrimental as I thought as far as locating, finding, refinding your schools. So.
Yeah, it'd been a while, and I know a lot of people were saying, oh, what's wrong with Justin? What's going on? And he just kind of went out and took care of business and got the red trophy. So very excited to be talking to him about his week on Sturgeon Bay. The other thing from an MLF perspective, what about Jordan Lee?
Very impressive. Not a big surprise that he won with everything that he's done. He's very consistent. He gets the job done. So he edges out Ott Defo, who actually finished in second, and then Jacob Wheeler, Jeff Sprague, and Takahiro Omori finish out the 5. Fletcher, who came in second, slid all the way down to 10th. And Michael Neal also had a not so stellar. And then I was more interested around the cut line. Lucas obviously jumped in, and then Elam and Edwin both turned in great performances. Obviously, that red crest at Grand Lake, very important for them. Both of them going to be the favorites going into it. And Christie looked like he was going to be there, but just kind of fell a little bit short. He ended up 51st, like 15, 25 points out of. But Faircloth made it. Last one. I've ridden with Faircloth in a classic on Grand. He really likes Grand.
He does.
He has some sneaky little stuff that he does. I think he will be a factor in that, since it is every fish over 2 pounds counts.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been with him that time of the year. The guy caught a lot of fish.
Yeah.
And it can be tough that time of the year.
Yeah, we're going to have James Elam right now tentatively in studio tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have... Did you see? It's been a while.
Yeah, Miles.
We're going to have Miles
One of the things we didn't talk about that I was kind of surprised was Amart fishing again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he finished ahead of Christie.
And there were some...
in the points.
Some characteristics that Leslie was helping him out and doing some things.
Yeah, I think his official had to drive the boat just because of the seizure protocol. I don't think he can drive a vehicle or a boat until he has gone a certain amount of time without having a seizure. So it's not that he can't. It's just legally I don't think he's allowed to. So I think his
that's
official
was
driving the boat. And he said, let's go right over here. Let's go over here. But then fishing.
It was strong. Cool,
so it was really cool to see. To see him out there.
100%. All right, a couple more things, and then we will take a break and come back with Justin Lucas. Did you watch Yellowstone last night?
I did.
It's getting better.
It's building.
It is building.
Yes.
But it was much better than the first 4.
So I will say this. This season of Yellowstone, through 5 of the, 10 or 12 episodes, kind of like the Elite Series season.
5.
Kind of like the Elite Series season.
Yeah.
Gets off to a start, and then you just wait around for a little. Not much happens. And a little bit happens, then you wait around for a little. But I think that they are paralleling each other. So you're going to see some crazy stuff happen the next couple weeks of the Elite Series. I think the couple crazy things are going to happen in Yellowstone the next.
Yeah.
Not happy with it, though, with the show. I almost turned it off.
Last night?
Yes.
Last night was the best one.
What about the bar scene where she goes through the... fish about catching a fish and so you're saying
trout
fish
fishing. Yeah.
Was not happy. I feel like that was some propaganda that was thrown in there.
Do you
for
think
that
Sims?
whole?
I was going to ask you. Do you think Sims wrote a check?
Well, that's my question. So I'd seen Carhartt in it earlier, but like, is it still good if like your company's associated with is it the antagonist in the story?
I don't know.
Because it's like, screw that guy. But then he had a Sims hat on.
Yeah. You think Sims had to pay? I say yes. I know Dodge is dropping a ton of money on that show.
And Yeti has to be, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't just stick a Yeti out there when Rip's chugging a cold one.
I know.
So, but yeah, I was not happy with the fishing speech.
No. All right. And then the last thing I want to talk about, and we will discuss this in detail after we have Justin on, kind of to wrap up the show. But this was a headline that came from sportsbusinessdaily.com on last week. And I forgot to mention it on the show last week, so I'm going to get it in on Monday.
Okay.
All right. It says, powerful group launching new auto racing circuit to debut next year on CBS.
Did I send you that?
No.
Oh, I sent it to Dave because I saw it during your wedding stuff, and I didn't want to send it to you. It's the Tony Stewart 6 events on CBS.
Yeah.
It's more of a dirt track deal, though.
But did you see who's involved with it?
Yeah, major players for NASCAR. And did you read the details?
Oh,
That's what I wanted to talk to you about on this show.
Yes. You know, the bullet points, a television strategy that will fit races into 2-hour primetime windows, presenting a contrast to NASCAR races that run twice as long.
Now, that's not what I was interested in. I know that, but the focus is on the driver and not the machine.
Yes.
So everyone is
one of the bullet points.
Like level, and then the crew chiefs change.
Yeah.
Random draw.
Yeah. A lot of strategy. A lot of strategy in this thing. So I was really, really intrigued by that entire story, and we'll get into that after we have Justin on.
So I'm just trying to keep track here. So you've had rodeo do it in the past 3 or 4 years. Now you've got the racing do it. Isn't there talk that golf is trying to do it?
Yeah.
As well.
Bowling hasn't.
Bowling is in the process of some.
There's some crazy stuff going on there.
Yeah. Not croquet.
Darts?
No, lacrosse. Lacrosse did it.
Yeah.
And bass fishing.
Yeah.
The individual sports. I mean, there's a lot of angler driven, or not angler, participant driven changes, I guess.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. And they said in that story that, we're not in direct competition with NASCAR. Mm-hmm. But it's very, very apparent based upon that story that they are seeing things that, in their opinion, that NASCAR is not doing correctly and trying to capitalize on that misjudgment, in their opinion. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Long-term contract deal, too, with CBS. Not just 1 year. It's not a one and done. That was the other thing that I noticed in that. So, plenty a buzzing in the automotive world. Hey, by the way, did they have fans at the NASCAR race yesterday?
No, I don't think so.
Somebody said that there was a smattering of fans at Texas Motor Speedway, but I didn't see anything. All right, we're going to take a break, come back with our special guest, Justin Lucas, right here on a Monday. Everybody, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to side scan and down scan imaging, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need a 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a grate for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back on a Monday. Mark and Matt in studio. And somebody on the instant feedback said that there were like 20,000 fans at the NASCAR race yesterday.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know. Let's see here. Said he doesn't think there were actually 20,000 there. So I don't know. I would have thought that would have been a big thing on SportsCenter or the news or anyway. I didn't see it at all. At all. All right, man, it is time for our special guest, and the man got the red trophy, got it done, dominated, 100 pounds, this, that, the other. Just totally dominated in a week that we saw some guys struggle, but at the same time saw a lot of guys have success at Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. 110 pounds, 5 ounces, edged out Mark Daniels Jr., 102 pounds, 7 ounces. So, I mean, it was probably a little closer than he would have liked it to be.
Yeah.
He had stretched the gap at the end of the second period there before the weather delay came in and kind of let everyone catch back up for a little drama, but then he refound them and caught him every cast.
Well, let's bring him in. Justin, you there, man?
I'm here. What's up, guys?
Oh, geez, dude. So happy for you. Just an outstanding week. And I know we had you on the show on that Monday, but you seemed very, very within yourself. You seemed very focused. You actually kind of had a little bit of a chip, is what I kind of got from that Monday interview. And you went out and you got it done, man.
Yeah, it was funny. I read a guy's comment on a YouTube page out there, and he said I was being a D-head. And it's like, dude, I'm in the middle of a competition here. I'm not trying to be friends with everyone in the middle of a competition. Of course, I don't want to lose people's respect. But I'm here to get a job done. And I felt like I could get that job done last week. And I was focused, man. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you go on a golf course and you try and talk to Tiger Woods during an event at any point, he's probably not going to be the most friendly guy. But certainly now that the thing is over with, I did my job. I'm happy.
Kind of along those lines, I did a quick Google search as to why celebrities wear sunglasses during interviews. If you're listening on iTunes, Justin is Lucas. The 3 main reasons are paparazzi. Imagine hundreds of cameramen clicking endless photos. You wouldn't want to get blinded, therefore you wear it. 2, a drinking habit. Most of the stars drink. Some are heavy drinkers. Even their wives drink. Drinking alcohol makes your eyes appear a bit reddish. And then 3, tiredness. Most of the stars work 12 to 16 hours a day. So if you're wondering why, Lucas...
How about that I'm just sitting by the lake? Is that on there?
Oh, no, look at that.
At my parents' house right now. So, yeah.
Wow. That's fancy.
Basically, I'm almost fishing, but
I didn't know your parents lived on Lake Gunnersville.
They just moved here a few weeks ago, and it's been awesome.
Really?
It's been really awesome. When I moved here from California, I never expected my family to move out here too, and my stepdad and mom and grandparents all live right here, not just 10 minutes from me. They live right on Browns Creek.
Huh. Right next to the bridge.
Pretty close. Yeah, I can see where Hank won.
Really?
Very cool.
Has there ever been a tournament won on Gunnersville that you can't drive past? Like a major tournament at some point? I feel like you could just drive and look at all of them.
It's a good question. That's probably a very true statement.
Anyway, could you drive and look at where you were fishing on Sturgeon Bay?
Yeah, you could probably see it. There's 2 roads going up both sides of the lake right there. So you could probably see out there.
And one of the things that I noticed was you guys were allowed to trailer. So you could, I guess, put in anywhere you could put the boat in any of the fishable waters. And you actually opted to kind of stay fairly close to where the, I guess, tournament was taken out of. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we were based out of Sturgeon Bay. Of course, before we got there, the plan was to go out of Sturgeon Bay, but the wind forecast for that week was not looking so hot. Thankfully, it kind of tamed down. But instead of just canceling a day, right, like saying, oh, it's going to blow 30 tomorrow, we got to cancel the day, they give you the opportunity to go launch your boat wherever you want. And it honestly made for the fact that we've never had to cancel a day like we probably would have under a regular format, just based on what was predicted. So I think our guys love the trailering policy. It helped spread everybody out. There was 0 negatives that I heard from it. You could even put your trailer or your boat back on the trailer and relaunch somewhere else if you did it all with your boat official and went back to the same ramp you put in at.
Wow.
Cool.
It's
so
awesome,
you think that
dude.
kept a lot?
Matt, I gotta say too. You did say rain delay first, and then you said weather delay, so you're getting closer, but it is a lightning delay. We don't need the haters getting a little ammo here, thinking that we just stop fishing when it rains, because that's not the case. We don't stop fishing if it blows 50 miles an hour. Obviously, they didn't cancel any days. We only stop if there's lightning, which I actually am all for. I don't want to sit out there and risk my life, or feel like I have to while other guys are fishing right through this thing.
No, if you remember before MLF and the BPT and that whole thing, I was a huge proponent of the safety stuff. When it was just back to the Elite Series at FLW. Remember that, Mark?
Yeah.
We did a whole thing called the safety show. And I would hate a rain delay, but man, lightning is something that you don't want to mess around with. And when you've got some guys who are not going to risk it, but you have other guys, and I didn't realize this until I was in that position where I'm in a tournament and I needed to fish in 45 minutes, and I'm like, not dangerous, but I'm like, dang, I'm doing risky stuff that I normally wouldn't do, like staying out when it's lightning, because in that moment you're going, I don't care, I'm going to catch that damn fifth fish no matter what, and I didn't need to be out there. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
so I agree with the lightning.
Oh, I feel you. I like it. We just got to get that right? Because we had an angler last year call it a rain delay, and that's just not what it is. So that's fake news. But I'll say this. I went back out after the lightning delay, and my line for that 45 minutes, I couldn't catch a fish. My line was shooting up. I'd cast, and there would be a bow 20, 30 feet in the air. I've never had it that bad. All the way back to my rod. I could not keep my line down for 45 minutes. I was literally filling my drop shot like through a bow, in the air. Mm-hmm. And the other thing too is my hands weren't working. Like my left hand wasn't working. My right hand was fine. My left hand was like gripped to the rod and I couldn't ungrip it. It was the weirdest thing. But I was talking to the guy. He's like, you probably had like a charge in your rod if your line was doing that so bad. And your hand was like gripped and you couldn't ungrip it. He's like, you probably had some kind of charge in there. So
that's just,
I didn't call. I didn't say, hey, we need to go back in, continue this delay. We're going to fish through this thing.
It's just because the flatworm is such an electric bait for smallmouth, Justin.
Ooh, that's right.
Yeah, they're sold out.
Best smallmouth bait ever made.
Oh, you can't get them anywhere. You can't get them till fall, even if you did.
Yeah, they're long gone. All right, I want to queue up a video. I watched this live, and this video that I'm going to queue up is the last 10 seconds of the actual clock, and the emotion that you showed, Justin, after you realized that you had the red trophy and you had the win. So let me cue this up now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lines out. That's the end of the round. Tell me we did it. Did we do it? Yes! God, dude! We did it for sure. You're not screwing around. Justin Lucas, it appears that you are the stage 5. Are they in your ear telling you? Yes! Yes! Woohoo! We haven't been able to touch, but dude, God, that's been fun. I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it. Please tell me my phone's going off. Yes, we did it. Oh my gosh. Man, you just don't know. It's been 4 years since I won a tournament, and you just never know. You come out here all the time and you practice 14 hours a day. You put in the time. Man, that's so freaking cool. I'm sorry for getting emotional, guys, but I'm so competitive. I'm not the best fisherman out here. I've said that before, but man, I want to win. Especially on a place like this. I know I can win here. I have this whole entire bay to myself. I knew I found the winning fish in practice. I told my wife I found the winning fish in practice, and I've never done that before.
All right. All right, dude. That was really, really cool. It was like you could almost stepped into an octagon and battled somebody for a moment there because of just the intense emotion that you had, Justin. And it is really, really cool to see somebody that works as hard as you do to be able to celebrate and get that red trophy, man.
I guess reason number 4, Matt, that I'm wearing sunglasses, if I would have known Mark was going to play that, is getting emotional, man. I mean, I've watched that already 15 times, and I get chills every time I watch it. Just, God, man, it's, you know, people that go out there and you go out there and you fish multiple day tournaments like that, and if you do it for a living, you know how hard it is. And dude, it has. I won in 15, I won in 16. I won Angler of the Year in 18, so I hadn't won a tournament in 4 years. And you don't question whether you can do it again because you've already done it. But for me, I kind of started, I was questioning myself, and it was to prove to myself that I could do it under this format. There's no doubt this is the toughest format of tournament fishing ever. The fact that you know where your competition is, and the fact that you got an official there counting you down on the clock, it changes the game. It makes it a sport. And in my opinion, it really makes it a sport, because that's what a sport is. You know where your competition's at, and you have to perform under the pressure of knowing exactly where they're at. And to come through, like I did there in that last period and just throughout the whole week, it was amazing. And it just gave me confidence like I had in 2018. I said I felt like if I put my trolling motor in the water, I was going to catch every fish around, and I feel that way again, just because of the last couple tournaments especially, and then this one. But yeah, man, like I said, at this point in my career, I'm not doing it for money. Of course, I'm making money doing it, but I'm not even doing it for that trophy. It's just because I'm so freaking competitive and I want to beat these guys. And I love these guys. I got a lot of respect for most of them. And yeah, to be able to beat them because they are the best. It's tough.
Yeah. All right, Matt. I'll let you ask a question real quick. I want to go back to practice that you said you never had this happen before, where you found the fish during practice. What was that like? Did you hook some of those fish? Was this all about graphing? What can you tell the fans where you came to that conclusion that you really felt like that you were going to win this tournament during practice?
Yeah, I started my practice way up on the north end of our restriction area up by Washington Island, and I spent about 4 hours up there and just never caught anything over 2 pounds. I moved over to another area called Raleigh's Bay. So both of these are more Lake Michigan than they really were Green Bay side. And I struggled in both of those areas. And at 2 o'clock that afternoon, I put it on the trailer and made my third move of the first day of practice. And I went and launched in Sturgeon Bay. And I'm like, there's no one here. Where is everybody? And most of them were those other areas. I think they all had the same idea. And I put the boat in the water, and I found that point where I caught 141 pounds. That was the first place I found. I caught some 3-pounders off it. And I'm like, okay, there's some other fish down there. I idled over it. And anytime you can see smallmouth when you're idling over them with the big motor, there's a lot of them there. But then I got on that grass pattern and hitting those isolated clumps of grass out there on that flat. And it really felt like St. Clair more than anywhere else I've ever been, because it was very flat, not a lot of contour, and those fish were just related to those clumps of grass. And there was no one. I never saw anybody else even fishing out there. And I could watch that area from the point. And I was going to start out in the grass on the first day because it was so good. And then I looked over at that point and I'm like, well, there's nobody starting there either. I was like, I'll go start there. It's a little more obvious. And I never left for a day and a half over there. And I knew at that point, like, okay, now I've managed this perfectly, because I had some company over there. I'm like, this is burned up. Like, I've burned up the obvious, and I still have what I felt like was even better unobvious, not far from there at all, just a couple miles away, and untouched by everyone, and also unaffected by the current, unaffected by the wind. That was something else I just knew up there that happened so much, is the current changes based on the wind, and we had all these crazy wind forecasts, and I'm like, man, how can I make myself not exposed to that? And I just felt like the bay was the best place to do it, and sure enough, it worked out perfectly. Just a flawless game plan.
Wow.
You talked to the competition, how that drives you, and I've kind of talked to you off and on over the past couple of years, and I'm just curious, I would put, and you've been around a little bit longer than both of them, but I would put, Jordan Lee, Jacob Wheeler in that kind of category that you're in, younger guys, championship winners, and they've had a ton of success. We talk about them all the time on BTL and how they moved over. Did that, for lack of a better term, kind of tick you off even more that you're seeing these guys who have moved from the Elite Series winning the stages and dominating, and you're like, what the hell is going on? I've won an Angler of the Year before. Why am I not able to keep pace with these guys over here? I mean, was there a little bit of seeing that group that you're in, a lot of those guys really excel and you kind of struggle at it, that all kind of came out in that final 10 seconds on Sturgeon Bay?
Yeah, I mean, 100%, dude. I'd be lying if I sat here and tried to act like that wasn't the truth. I think that's a great question, because they have absolutely dominated the past couple years, and they are the two best fishermen. I don't care what anybody says. They are 1 and 2 right now, and you can go either way on them. But they are 1 or 2, and they're the guys that I want to beat. They're the best guys right now.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I want to beat a guy ranked anywhere below them? Like, they're the guys I've been focused on beating. Even though they're friends of mine, Jordan, I room with, I love him. He's an amazing, amazing fisherman. And I've told him, I told him when he won the Classic, I said, my friendship side is super happy for you, but my competitive side is not jealous, but very, very fired up and ready to beat you on this stuff. So no doubt, dude. Great question. And I want to continue to beat them, because I know those guys they're not pushing off any pressure.
Hang on a second. Dude, what are you doing? You're making noise over there.
They're just
what are you eating?
Snack.
You're not supposed to eat on the show.
The Hostess Ding Dongs. You ever had one of those? They're delicious.
Oh, my gosh.
It's like one of the best snacks you can have.
Ding Dongs, really?
Yeah. You ever had one of those? They're freaking good, Lucas.
Yeah, I haven't had one of those.
I'm kind of a snowball guy. I like the snowballs.
Yeah. Well, some guys like the dings and some guys like the dongs.
Wow. All right. Only you would say that, Matthew. Jeez. My God. All right, let's do this. Justin, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and then I want to come back, and we will get to questions from the fans, both on the YouTube channel and on basshome.com. So we'll take a quick break, come back, and give the fans an opportunity to ask Justin some questions here on a Monday. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
As a professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Lew's doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Hey everybody, Tide Faircloth here. Want to show you one of my favorite braided lines, SX1 30-pound Sunline braid. I use this braided line for a couple of different applications, and one of my favorites to use for this line is a swim jig. Casts great, and it's small diameter, and just works really great on a swim jig. Another technique I like to use for 30-pound SX1 Sunline braid is whenever I'm flipping like a light, say an 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce weight in grass, small diameter, I don't lose much action on my worm, just works great in those scenarios. So if you're looking for a braided line for a swim jig or fishing a light Texas rig, check out Sunline's SX1 30-pound braid.
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
All right, we are back on a Monday, kicking off the week with the latest champion on the BPT, Justin Lucas. And if you have questions for Justin, throw them out on the instant feedback on basshone.com, or we will try to get to your comments on the YouTube channel. You full now, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's see here. Mike in New York wants to know, what forward-looking sonar were you running during that event? Justin.
Starts with a G.
Okay.
Garmin.
All right.
I'm not sponsored by anyone now. I'm buying all my own stuff. I just wanted to do my own thing this year, so that was big.
Okay. One other question for Mike. He also wants to know, how were you able to distinguish between the different species when you were looking at your electronics?
Basically the way they set up on structures, the main thing. You know, I knew around these clumps of grass that there really wasn't any other species using them besides the smallmouth for the most part. On one area, I started hooking some walleye, but other than that, I might have caught one drum that was off that rocky point. But yeah, you could tell by the way they set up on structure. That's the main thing.
Was it hard to find the big schools of fish? Because it seemed like we saw a lot of guys watching the live coverage who never got on the type of schools like you got on. I saw Bertrand got on a little, Mark Daniels got on a little, but a lot of guys seem to just be kind of randomly covering water and pitching and casting the fish, whereas the guys who all at the top were like, okay, there's 30 of them there, and it's getting it in, getting it off so I can get back into that spot. Was it hard to find them? Do you think guys didn't realize that they were just grouped up? Why were there not more guys that were able to get on that stuff?
I'm telling you right now, one of the key research articles I read that made me go to Sturgeon Bay the first day of practice when everything else was sucking was I read that 8,000 estimated smallmouth bass spawn in Little Sturgeon Bay. And I thought, if there's an estimated 8,000 there and it's a quarter of the size of the big bay, there's got to be 30 to 40,000 in this other bay. And that's why I was blown away when there was nobody there, because I'm like, they can't be that far off of their beds. Where are they going to go? That's where I want to find them until they move out to the lake. So I think everybody else that was fishing out on the main lake was, they were fishing by those fish that they're just not big schools of fish. There's no big giant bay up there. I think the majority of the fish in that place spawn in Sturgeon Bay. And I think I just put myself around the biggest population, period, within 100 miles of that place.
One of the other things that I talked with you about that you actually mentioned on while you were live was you had like 6 or 7 identical spinning rod and reel setups rigged up so you could maximize your time, and then during the period breaks re-rig. And you mentioned that like most of the guys in the tournament probably didn't own as many spinning rod setups as you had rigged on the front deck, and that was like big for you to be able to go fish, and then use your downtime instead of re-rigging. That's an interesting strategy, gamesmanship, I guess, that you got a little bit of an advantage on.
I never one time had to retie while the clock was ticking. And that was huge, I mean, I don't know why anybody else wasn't doing that. Well, part of the other thing too, and here's my other claim that the Alberto knot is still better than the FG knot that I've been tying for 14 years and it's never failed me, not one time, is I can tie 7 drop shots in 15 minutes. I did it during our break. I tied 7 drop shots up in 15 minutes, leaders and all. And if you're tying an FG knot, you'll be lucky to get 2 or 3, maybe. Dude, yeah. And so these smallmouth, they wrap your weight gets wrapped around your line, kinks your line, damages your line. You lose weights, in the rocks that are down there with mussels, or even around the grass. I was getting weights hung and cut off by mussels and stuff. Like you burn through setups, during 2.5 hours. And when you got to catch as many as we were, that was a huge advantage. No brainer to have as many drop shots. I mean, that's all the 7-foot medium rods I own. So that's all. If I had 8 or 9, I would have had 8 or 9.
Wow. All right. Matt in Alabama wants to know, have you made any big changes in your approach during the last 2 BPT events?
I'll say that, I was a little too involved in just some of the politics stuff for the last year and a half. I was big on the 2 pound minimum. I was a huge advocate for that. I was a huge advocate for this coverage of, hanging on these guys longer. Let them talk about the baits they're using. Let us try to get bigger fish. That's what people want to see, is us catching good fish. And we've had 5 great tournaments now. And after the first 3, I still had bad events, but I knew the direction we were headed was really good. And so I got off of our angler board because I felt like I did my part to help get that done. And I just really got back to focusing on fishing, what I like to do. And it's no secret that I'm probably, bottom 30% of dirty water pre-spawn fishing. But other than that, I'm totally comfortable doing just about anything. It's just that dirty water pre-spawn. We didn't have a lot of that in Northern California. And so a lot of these tournaments are around a dirty water pre-spawn schedule. And once I can get that figured out, man, I'm going to have through the roof confidence in this format.
All right, Frank in Michigan wants to know, and I think we need to set the record straight on this, Justin. He wanted to know, how did you feel about first place being $65,000 rather than $100,000? But that's something that you guys actually voted on, correct?
Total fake news, man. I've seen this out there that Major League Fishing lowered our paybacks. They took all this money away, blah, blah, blah. The anglers voted on that. I have zero, I'm not upset at all that I got 65 grand because the purse was the same. Every guy that showed up got paid. We got some guys losing across the whole industry, people losing deals because of COVID and stuff. And if the majority of our guys want to vote to everybody gets paid, at this event because of what's going on in the world, I have no problem with that. I'm not pissed that I won $35,000 less. And it's total fake news. The purse was the exact same as all the other events. And I'm sure we'll be back to 100 grand after this, but it's just so much uncertainty in the world and in the industry going on that, people wanted to play it a little safe. And I didn't vote for it, but I don't blame them. I didn't vote for it because I knew going up there, I was going to be very confident fishing up there. So why would I want to vote for that? But the guys that did, I don't blame them.
That's a Tommy Biffle making a call going, I think we need to vote on this one.
All right. No. All right. Now we will get to the YouTube questions. And the first one is, why the flatworm and why was it so dominant? We heard that all week at Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah, well, number one is the science behind max scent. I don't know if you guys can go back at some point and watch the footage of Edwin and I think it was Mark Sexton talking about it. But when you look at that bait and the scent of that bait in the water, you can see how it disperses around that bait. So smallmouth, number one, they're sight feeders. They need to see the bait. But number two, they're scent feeders. And so if you throw it close to a smallmouth or you drop it down below your boat close to a smallmouth and they don't see it, if they can smell it, you're upping your chances of being able to get that fish to find your bait. And so once they smell that stuff, if you cast it, I just believe that when I cast it, if I get close to them, if they don't see it, they're going to smell it and they're going to come find it. And they never let go of it. If you get bit, you're going to hook that fish. They just don't let go of it. I don't know if you guys watch the coverage, but how many times I had to get the pliers to get hooks out was stupid. That's because of how good they eat it. I didn't have those pliers right there just for show to get on your guys' show and talk about using my pliers. Like, I legit needed my pliers there for probably 60% of the fish that bit because they eat it so far down their throat.
Wow. All right. Dennis wants to know, how are you working the flatworm? Were you dragging it or just soaking it?
Yeah, I was soaking it. I don't think that the smallmouth like a lot of vigorous shaking of the rod tip and stuff. Plus your boat's bouncing around, your rod tip's bouncing around a little bit all the time. So that bait's got plenty of action. You can dead stick it and you're still going to get some movement out of it. So my thing was just mainly fishing fast, pitching it around the boat until I saw one under the boat or saw one out in front. And I just wanted to keep, trying to drop it in as many faces of the smallies that I could. And you'll notice when you fish a drop shot for smallmouth, mean, I would be, I would say probably 70% of your bites come on the first cast.
You think that's
the first cast.
A feeding bite or a reaction bite? I watched Kevin Van Dam in this, and it was like as soon as his bait would hit the bottom, he'd crank it back in. And then we had Larry Nixon on, who was talking about generating a reaction bite with the worm. You think those smallmouths saw the bait as it was dropping? Do you think you dropped it in front of your face? Do you think that it got down there and then they noticed it? How do you think that the awareness of your bait was with how the smallmouth were set up?
That's a good question. In my opinion, it's probably a mixture of both. But I think number one, more importantly, is just their vision and them being sight feeders. If you can get that bait close to them and they see it, they're coming for it. And they're just aggressive fish, especially when you're fishing for them like I was, where no one else was around. They're not seeing any baits, totally unpressured. I mean, they were just as aggressive as it gets. You can't ask for a more aggressive bass than that.
All right, back to the comments. Bassin with Bartlett wants to know, was it more exciting to win with MTJ right behind you like that, and was that the most exciting fish in your career?
Yeah, I would fish or finish.
Fish. He said fish.
Fish. I guess the last fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I did not want to win that thing because of a lightning delay or, even a delay or a shortened time frame. So I won it in the fashion that I would want to win it. I'm the guy, and most of us are, give me the ball with, for the last shot. And I wanted it like that. It was amazing to come down to it like that, with me, Mark, and Josh just battling it out all day, and then two of us pulling away and still battling it out to the very end. Mark never gave up. He's shown that he's a tremendous smallmouth fisherman now, and he's going to be a threat anytime we go anywhere, really. He's a very versatile guy, and I wouldn't have rathered it happen any other way. It was perfect. I'll say that 7 pounds or 7.5 pounds, whatever it is, I was comfortable with that. I didn't want to get any closer.
Be honest here. How close were you to a meltdown when you went 45 minutes after the lightning delay and hadn't caught a fish and guys were catching them and the waves are bucking around out there and you've got a drone that had been around earlier? I mean, to me, just watching, somewhat knowing you a little bit, I was like, it seemed like you were really close to not being a happy camper.
I was very confident up there. So yeah, I was probably I was just more pissed off that my line was floating in the air and my hand wouldn't let go of the rod, that it was just so I couldn't figure out what was going on with all that. It was just very uncomfortable, and I'm not getting bit. So it just made that uncomfortableness with the waves bouncing and everything. It just kind of piled everything on. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was close to a meltdown because I knew how confident I was, and I still didn't even fish 50% of what I wanted to fish. I bet you I fished 40 to 50% of what I wanted to fish that week. Like there might have been other spots that might have even been better. So it was, I had plenty to fish. I wasn't running out of that, and at the end I made just the right decision to hit a couple new spots that I hadn't touched yet. And it was game on both of those.
All right. A number of people on both of the formats. On Monday's show, you had a no comment when Matt asked you the question about the Gary Klein situation. I'm going to give you an opportunity. You don't have to, but if you want to address that situation or if it's still no comment, I'm going to leave it up to you, man. But did you guys get things worked out?
Here's what I'll say. And it doesn't matter if Gary's an owner of Major League Fishing or not or whatever. That has zero thought in my mind. Like, oh, this owner's fishing close to me, I've got to be nice to him. No, that's not how this works. So anybody that's saying that, that's fake news too. And my thing was, hey, I fished there for a day and a half, and I understand that you want to come out exactly where I'm catching them. I would too, but just say something to me. So, I'm sure you probably had the waypoint there. But I'm setting records off this spot. I'm the only guy fishing this spot for a day and a half. And, I left for 2 hours. Let's make that clear, too. I did leave for 2 hours, and I came back, and he's right where I wanted to be. But, that's competition, man. I mean, he hasn't said anything to me yet. I'm sure he probably had a waypoint there, but it is what it is. Do I have hard feelings against Gary? not really. You know, we're competitive. I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point, but it's all good. I'm not sitting here thinking Gary Klein's a bad person or anything like that. You know, it's not like that.
Part of competition, man.
It is, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I've had my run-ins, you know, a couple times over the years, and I get them straightened out. You know, I went and talked. Jeff Crete and I had a little run-in at Champlain a few years ago. Made it a point that we went and talked after the day was over. I wanted them to know exactly how I felt, and I'm always going to be that guy. You know, if I ever feel like I did something to make somebody unhappy, I'm going to approach them about it, because I'm never trying to do something to make somebody unhappy. And these guys don't have to like me. I just want respect from the guys, and I'll show the same respect back. Period. All the time. You know, we're not all out here just buddy. We're competitors, but everybody's got to have respect for each other.
All right. Mike wants to know, how much influence did the weight have and the size of the weight on the bite?
I just threw a 3/8 ounce. I started in practice with a 5/16, but our practice was a lot calmer. And I did catch some fish in the tournament when it got real calm on a 5/16, but a 3/8 was, for me, the best, just because I feel like you can cover the most water with it and possibly get, you know, that reaction bite out of those fish too when it's falling faster.
Go with the hook. I mean, there's a number of different styles now out on drop shot, but I mean, you just stuck with with a drop shot hook the whole time?
Yeah, it's just a number 2 drop shot hook. You know, everybody makes one now. Yeah, I mean, that's all I threw. I'm still trying to find the best drop shot hook out there, and one of these days we might do something with it. And you could ask James about the best drop shot hook out there. Go ahead and do that when he gets on the show.
We will.
Tell him I said to ask.
It's just, if you look at it, you watch some of it, like on St. Clair, you got guys that are threading baits onto the straight shank hooks, and you got Aaron who does like rebar hooks, but then he also has his drop shot style of hooks. You got different guys that all use a different drop shot hook. It's just interesting that, like, it seems like the drop shot hook changes based on fisheries. You have tournaments you cover where guys lose a ton of fish. Here on Sturgeon Bay, like, losing fish wasn't a big option. Like, but you watch other tournaments and you got fish that are jumping off all the time, and you're like, what is it that some whole tournaments, it seems like guys can't keep them buttoned on it? But I watched hundreds of smallmouth get landed on Sturgeon Bay, and I saw like 2 jump off the entire time. It was crazy to me how few fish were lost in this tournament.
Yeah.
I think current, you know, a lot of times we're at St. Lawrence River, and even, you know, at St. Clair, there's a lot more current than people realize. But I think definitely at St. Lawrence River, current just makes it a little extra challenge landing those fish. I've lost a lot more fish at St. Lawrence River than anywhere else, no matter what hook I'm using.
You were what, like 98% this last week?
Probably better than that. It was pretty darn good, dude.
Wow.
And I'm still looking for the best hook. So, not totally satisfied.
Wow. Not a whole lot of airborne smallmouth either. Do you notice that, Matt, when you were watching it?
Yeah, there were some that jumped, but a lot of diggers.
Yeah.
They would dig right next to the boat in circles. What's going on?
I would agree with that.
You got? What
I had a wasp. There was a wasp.
Is it still there? A red wasp?
I don't know. It's eating my mom's hummingbird feeder stuff now, so I'm on the lookout for this.
When was the last time you got stung by a wasp? I haven't been stung by a wasp in forever.
Me. I never have. I've only been stung by a bee. Last time I was stung by a bee, I was with Josh Bertrand in his boat, and we're idling out, and a bee stung me on my pinky toe, dude. And it hurt so freaking bad. Josh was laughing. I'm like, dude, this is not funny. Like, this is painful.
No,
I've never been stung by a wasp.
Cleaned out the red wasp nest a couple days ago with the foaming spray.
Yeah.
And they know who sprayed it. Because I was booking it and I was doing hot laps. Yeah. They're the big red wasps.
Yeah.
Not pleasant.
Not pleasant. All right, man. What's on tap here, say, in the next month or two, and what's really the outlook for you, Justin?
Well, we've got, of course, the FLW Super Tournaments coming up. So we have 2 of those, and then we'll have a little bit of off time. I'll have a cup event this fall. Looking forward to doing better in those. I haven't done great in those, and I'm going to figure those out too. I never wanted to give up on this format at all. It just pisses me off that I wasn't doing well enough in them, but I wasn't, like I've said, I wasn't catching them good enough for a 5-fish limit either. So I'm going to get the cup format figured out because we're always going to have a couple of those a year. And I'm looking forward to a little bit of off time after these next few events are over. My guys, he's almost 2.5, or he is 2.5. He's almost 3 now. So that's where I want to spend most of my time, just with them and my family, and hang out, do the kayak fishing.
All right, man. Honestly, we have not seen this kind of weight, especially that one period that you had. We have not seen the number of fish that has been caught. And I really want to know, and I think some of the fans want to know too, mentally, were you still on top of your game the entire time, or was there a period there where you were just going, my gosh, this is freaking unreal, and almost not from a bored perspective, but just a monotony kind of setting in? Was that difficult to overcome, or was it just you didn't care? It was fish after fish after fish after fish after fish.
Well, that's why if you watch the first day and the second day, you'll hear me a lot of times talk about execution each time I hooked up. And I was just reminding myself, because I knew, it can get really monotonous, and then you lose 1 or 2 and you don't think anything of it, and that slows the school down. So I was definitely focused every time I hooked up. I said it out loud several times, and I was saying it in my head the whole entire time, just execute. Don't screw this up. And that's why I'd back my drag off and play those fish out. And, I felt like I landed them pretty well. I could probably still work on my landing skills a little bit. But I only had 1 penalty the whole entire week for 70-something fish, and even more than that when you count the unscorables. And so I feel like I did that, just about as flawless as you could. And but it was telling myself each time, like, hey, execute, don't screw this up. This 2-4 is as important as the last 4-3. And, that was important.
Did you do the 2-rod thing on any followers? Did you catch any like that?
I tried it one time, but I was, it was just so good with 1 rod. Why the heck do I need to have a chaos going on?
Well, it looked like chaos to me, especially that one period. Good grief. I mean, that's just, you set the bar, man. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if that ever happens again. And, you go back to a lake like that or go back to one of the other smallmouth factories. It might happen, but that is just so impressive to be able to do what you did during that period and get the win. All right, where's the trophy?
It's at my house. I had it over here at my parents, showed it to my grandparents, took it back to the house, but it's going to go in the garage, man. I've got all my other trophies in the garage. I don't need it in the house. It'll fit in the garage, and I'm getting a TV actually from my mom. They had an extra TV. I'm going to put that up in my garage and probably watch a little bit of the event, just chilling out there in a lawn chair or something, and look at my trophy while I'm doing it.
Very
my truck
cool.
and boat are up in Wisconsin, so.
Oh yeah, you get back in like 3 or 4 days? 2 or 3 days? 3, 4 days?
Friday. Head up there on Friday.
You think that getting some momentum on Chickamauga before heading to this event was big?
I think the momentum from Kissimmee was big. Toho.
Oh, okay.
That was really big. Yeah, coming back from COVID break, 3 months, you just don't know how you're going to come back. And I was already struggling at the beginning of that year. And dude, I came all the way back to make Red Crest and Heavy Hitters next year. So this was honestly a great season. And I just barely missed a check at You Follow. I mean, you guys probably remember watching that live coverage. I got a couple like 114, 113s that made me mad at that one in the last 10 minutes because I never caught one under 2 pounds all week until it was, the end of the cut day on qualifying day. And then I caught 2. But so it wasn't a terrible year. And it's always a learning experience. I'm growing in the bad and I'm growing in the good. And I feel like this is just making me even better. And I feel like I can have a better year than I had in 2018 if things will line up correctly. So, but Jordan and Wheeler feel that way too. And I'd love for the three of us to battle it out one year.
All right, man. A couple more questions, and then we'll let you go. I'd like to get your thoughts on the 2 pound minimum. Do you think that has made the game better? What are your thoughts about the 2 pound minimum?
Dude, huge because the excitement is still there. Every cut is still close. None of that has changed. But there's no doubt that we have focused on targeting better fish. And I was a huge advocate for it. Huge advocate for it. I was actually a huge advocate for, maybe thinking about some type of limit. But honestly, man, the 2 pound minimum, you cannot argue with the success that we've had this year. If you don't like Major League Fishing, that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you. But my social media has never blown up with positivity like it did this past week. And that 2 pound minimum is a huge part of that reason, that along with the fact that we're selling baits, when you're catching bigger fish, you're moving sponsor product, and rightfully so, because when I watch fishing shows and if they're catching little fish, I don't want to buy what they're throwing. But if they're catching good ones, which we are, I'm curious to what these guys are throwing. And so, hey, on the days that I got cut, I was watching MLF now just as hard as anybody else because I wanted to see what was going on and learn. And the 2 pound minimum has been huge. And if you don't think so, send me a message. We can debate about it. But I think it's been in my opinion, we batted 1,000% this year. We went 5 for 5 on awesome tournaments, and I heard nothing but good things from all of them.
Along the sponsor front, my last question then: do you get the best on tour email, Mark?
Yeah.
It comes through. It's like, well, under Jersey Watch is they point out that that you actually have the Traeger Grills logo. This isn't a joke. This is a serious question. I'm not setting you up for anything here. Just letting you know. But that you have the Traeger Grills logo.
I'm going to stand up for this one.
The Traeger Grills logo on your jersey, actually sponsored by the grilling company. You do a lot of Traeger grilling. I myself do a lot of Traeger grilling. Everyone asks for tips and tactics here. If you were to have 2 or 3 tips for someone who's into pellet grilling like that, what is it that allows you to excel in that aspect of your life?
Well, that's easy. If you guys look right over there, my stepdad's got the same Traeger I've got. And I'd say number 1 tip is don't get in a hurry. If you're going to start smoking stuff, don't feel like you're going to do it in 30 minutes. It just doesn't happen. So give yourself plenty of time. And then the other thing is download that Traeger app. All of my recipes that I do pretty much come off the Traeger app, and everybody's always asking, and I just forward them a link from there because they talk to you step by step on how to do it and all the ingredients and everything. So I look like I know what I'm doing. I really don't. I just follow directions pretty good, and the food turns out amazing.
Now, do you change your pellets out based on the type of meat? Like, do you go with an apple for pork or with a mesquite for beef? Because I find myself lazily going, I don't want to clean that hopper out, even though I might be throwing some pork on, and then I end up with a preferred beef smoke on pork. I'm just curious, do you go through that whole process, or do you stick with like a combination pellet that I know is popular now?
Yeah, that's a good question, dude. That's a little too bougie for me to be switching them out each time. So I just pretty much run hickory in there all the time. And the Traeger blend's pretty good. It's a mix of like pecan and hickory and something else. So, you can do that. If you're hardcore, you can do that. But I'm just a weekend griller. So I'm going to stick with hickory and the simple ones.
Okay, last question then. You could throw a no comment in here. How the heck did you get a Traeger sponsorship? Because like everyone and their mom has been trying to get it. Like if you watch social media, you see guys pimping grills, and then like the next week they'll be like on a charcoal grill, and you'll be like, "Yep, they didn't get it." So how did that come about?
So one thing about our industry is it is very small, and you don't want to burn bridges. You never know where those people are going to go. And the guy that's over the, head of that stuff now, he was my boss with another company for a while, and he left and went to Traeger. And, he asked me if I enjoyed cooking. First of all, I'm like, yeah, I love to cook. And he sent me a Traeger, and, I started grilling on it, got comfortable with it, and then we made it happen. And dude, it's honestly my favorite thing to do. Like, here's what my life consists of. I travel to a bass tournament. I come home, I hang out with family, I grill, and I watch the PGA Tour and keep up with golf. Like, that's pretty much my life right there. And, you know, hang out on this lake. Now that my parents live here, I'll be over here a lot just hanging out at the lake. But I love living here. I love coming back to Alabama. And I like to just keep it simple, man. Nothing crazy around here.
Is your brother fishing or playing in any of the tour events this year?
Yeah, he's going to step it up. He's going through just he did really well. He finished 6th in Columbia and got status pretty much for the rest of this year, and I think all of next year on the Corn Ferry Tour. So he's good. But he just has got to, you know, he's got to get mentally in the right spot for a few weeks. And golf and fishing, I've said it before, they're very, very similar. It's a lot of mental struggles and hurdles and all that. But when you get on top of them, you know, you can go several weeks in a row kicking everybody's butt.
Very cool. All right, man. You watch Yellowstone at all? See Kevin Costner? You watch that show at all?
I watched the first season, and then we started, you know, our season traveling and everything, and I just haven't been able to get back into it. But yeah, I saw, I guess, all the way through the point where I think it was his grandson, you know, he almost drowned in the creek and stuff like that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Rip going crazy. That Rip guy's pretty nuts, dude.
Who's the Rip guy in professional fishing?
Oh, geez.
Who's the Rip
Russ
of professional
Lane.
bass fishing?
Russ Lane?
Russ Lane. He's the last guy he's like, if he's buddies with you, he's your buddy. He's a good dude. But I would not want Russ on my bad side.
How about Littner?
I would not want to fight him. He'd be there.
Littner?
Yeah, Littner probably too. You want Littner on your good side.
I don't know. I
wouldn't
can't
want him
see
on my bad
Littner
side.
punching anyone in the face.
Oh, dude.
I can't see Littner actually fighting it. Littner's got like a good heart. I'm talking about somebody who's just cold-hearted who just absolutely drop you if.
Well, that one. I mean, Russ Lane would probably drop you if you hit him off.
But Russ would bark a little bit before,
he's
like
not
you know.
cold-hearted.
Who's the guy on tour that
Russ
is like, if you do that again, I'm going to punch you in the face, and then you do it again, bam, he drops you, like Rip would.
Biffle in his prime.
You think?
Yeah.
Probably,
Maybe in his
I
prime.
don't know. I mean,
Probably. Now you go back to the 70s, man. 70s and 80s, there were some bank battles.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if Harold Allen said he was going to kick your ass, he would try to kick your ass.
Probably. I don't think there's a Rip guy out there.
There's no Rip guy on tour?
Nah.
I don't think so. I really don't. Not a real one.
No. A lot of Jamies.
But there used to be.
There's a lot of Jamies.
A lot of guys who bitch and moan. Complain, try to get the angle the best that they can. Switch jobs regularly.
There's a lot of Jamies, man.
Want people to like them.
All right, dude. We're going to let you go.
Guys are killing me.
Yeah. Great stuff, man. Thank you so much. I know after your win, you're very busy, but taking time out to come on the show, Matt and I greatly appreciate it, and we'll be looking at your progress through the remainder of the season, Justin, and wish you the best of luck, man.
I appreciate it. I always love coming on the show, guys. Even last week when a couple of people might have thought, you know, I was being rude or whatever. I was just in competition mode. But I love coming on your show. I always listen to you guys, and of course talk with you guys off the show quite a bit too. So you guys keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
All right, man. Take care, man.
See ya.
Thank you.
All right. There you have it. Justin Lucas. Out of here.
I might
Good
go
stuff,
with
man.
Keith Pochet.
Maybe.
Keith Pochet might be, and I'm not saying this is a bad, I'm just saying like a guy who's like, here's what you need to do, and if you don't do that again, there's going to be consequences. And then there's consequences.
Maybe.
You know, like in the
Dude,
latest
Rip is a
episode.
badass,
Without
though,
giving
man.
anything away, I think he said, don't come on this side of the fence. The guy got on that side of the fence, punched him in the face, sent him back over on the other side of the fence.
I mean, just like what he did on the show last night when he met those two dudes.
That's
that were
what
on
I'm
the
talking
horse.
about.
Oh, my gosh. Jeez. Kind of crazy. All right, man.
Oh, Jason Lambert.
Oh, maybe.
Lambert. Like, I would not. Yeah, I bet Lambert.
Yeah.
I'm going with Jason Lambert. He's an intimidating fellow, but very nice and cordial.
Yeah.
But he's going to hold his ground, and I think he'll follow through on what he said he's going to do. Fair point on that?
Huh. Interesting. I just got a text. I can't read this from.
But you can't, like, physically, or you're.
No, because I don't know exactly what it's from our friend at Joe Gibbs Racing. Rick.
Oh.
and he was elaborating a little bit on our conversation about Tony Stewart and the ex-COO, and I can't remember the guy's name, of NASCAR forming this racing league. And a couple of the bullet points, I read one earlier, and you mentioned it. It says a focus on driver performance rather than auto technology. All right. And Evernham will design the car so that everyone races with the same equipment. Kind of like, do you remember the old IROC series?
I didn't remember the name, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, they all had same cars, and they were all Camaros. I think one year they were Trans Ams. I don't know. But the IROC Z 28. That was a big deal.
But this is around that deal where you're always like, same electronics, same boat, limit the number of tackle, everyone goes out the same, and it's more of a focus on who can find and catch them rather than who has the best setup, right?
Yeah. And then as far as television, when it came to finding a media partner, his first look and only call went to CBS chairman Sean McManus, who was instantly drawn in to the project based upon the amount of experience that he had in racing.
I feel like Justin gives professional athlete interview, don't you?
Yeah, he's good, man.
Yeah,
he's good. So I don't know. We'll see if I can
him and
dive
Jimmy
into that
Houston
a little more.
Only two have worn sunglasses on the show.
Is that it?
Yeah. Who else? I mean, we might have done it outside on the water deal, but I mean, for sitting down with the interview, and then he upped it with the backwards hat.
Yeah,
makes it work.
Yeah, I was looking at the comments here.
So
trying to keep up with both. All right. Tomorrow, as of right now, he's going to be in studio. The Daylight Donuts guy. Have you ever talked to him about that? How he got that sponsorship?
I see him around occasionally. I mean, we don't live that far from each other over there. He just got a new crib.
Daylight Donuts.
Yeah.
I believe,
the
and I don't know.
Donuts guy up there like fishes. He's like a tournament fisher.
Yeah, but I don't know if
he
sold it. It's Mr. Bond is his name. Last name is Bond. And him and his son used to fish team tournaments all the time. I don't even know. Are the team tournaments still going on in Oklahoma?
Yeah. They are.
All right.
There's not a whole ton going on. I mean, it is the middle of July. It's not exactly the
but there was
best time
such
to
a delay,
fish,
a delay.
A lot of stuff in the fall.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff in the fall. You got your boat detailed.
Oh, dude. Immaculate.
You're going to have to give me that guy's name and number.
Yeah.
That's an incredible job. So
Brad.
it's you're putting it up for a while.
Yeah, actually, I have to get some work done on it. I got the tires and rims changed out.
You're a big tires and rims guy.
And then I've got to get something repaired with the tongue. There's an issue with the tongue, with the surge brakes and stuff, so I got to get that.
If you have an Instagram account, and I know probably 99% of you already follow this account, but it's called The Qualified Captain. There's like millions of people who follow it. It is nothing but hundreds of clips of people at the boat ramp who shouldn't be at the boat ramp.
Yeah.
It is legendary stuff. I highly recommend The Qualified Captain on Instagram.
All right.
We got nothing to do with it. Like I said, it's millions. Some of it's not PG rated, but I mean, it's like, bleep, bleep, as a ship goes through a dock and stuff like that.
Oh, jeez. All right, check that out. All right, tomorrow, Elam, Wednesday, Burkhoff. Everybody, have a great week here in the heat of July. We will be back tomorrow, same time. That's it. Thank you, Justin Lucas. We're out of here.